Aristotle. Timeless influence. Aristotle is one of history's most influential thinkers. His ideas from over 2 millennia ago continue to shape our understanding of science, philosophy, politics, and education. Examining his life, works, and key concepts reveals how his thought offers guidance for global education and development today. Life and works. Aristotle was born in 384 BCE in Stagira, northern Greece. His father was a physician to the Macedonian royal family, likely influencing Aristotle's early interest in biology. At 17, he moved to Athens to study at Plato's academy, remaining there until Plato's death in 347 BCE. Although influenced by Plato, Aristotle developed his own philosophy, particularly disagreeing with Plato's theory of forms. After leaving Athens, Aristotle spent time in Assos and Lesbos, conducting empirical studies, especially in biology. Around 343 BCE, he was invited to tutor the young Alexander the Great, linking him with Macedonian political power. In 335 BCE, he returned to Athens and founded the Lyceum, where his students, called the Peripatetics, compiled manuscripts that formed one of the earliest major libraries in antiquity. Aristotle's writings cover a vast range of disciplines, including logic, metaphysics, ethics, politics, rhetoric, poetics, biology, and physics. Of the approximately 200 treatises attributed to him, about 31 survive. These works remain central to Western philosophy and science. He died in 322 BCE in Chalcis, after leaving Athens due to political hostility following Alexander's death. Key philosophical ideas. Aristotle's philosophy is marked by breadth and systematic inquiry. Several of his key ideas stand out. 1. Knowledge from experience. Aristotle emphasized that knowledge begins with sense perception, leading to memory, experience, and scientific understanding. Unlike Plato, who focused on abstract forms, Aristotle grounded knowledge in the natural world. 2. Logic and syllogism. He is credited as the father of logic. His syllogism theory became a foundation for deductive reasoning and scientific demonstration. 3. Division of sciences. Aristotle classified inquiry into 3 domains: theoretical sciences, knowledge for its own sake, e.g., physics, metaphysics; practical sciences, ethics and politics, concerning action; and productive sciences, arts and crafts. 4. Essence and substance. He believed each thing has an essence, its defining nature that explains its properties. His categories provided a systematic way to analyze being and reality. 5. The 4 causes. Aristotle proposed that understanding a thing requires knowing its material cause, what it is made of; formal cause, its form; efficient cause, what brought it about; and final cause, its purpose. This view influenced knowledge and inquiry for centuries. 6. Ethics and virtue. For Aristotle, the highest human good is eudaimonia, flourishing or happiness, achieved through virtuous activity in accordance with reason. Virtues are habits of choosing the mean between extremes, developed through practice. 7. Politics and community. Aristotle called humans political animals. The polis, city-state, exists to cultivate virtue and enable citizens to live well. Connection to education. Aristotle's philosophy is closely tied to education. He believed that knowledge arises from experience and reasoning, aligning with modern principles like experiential learning. He demonstrated that students must progress from concrete observations to abstract principles. Aristotle considered education essential for cultivating virtue, arguing that knowledge alone is insufficient. True education involves character formation, instilling moderation, and developing deliberative skills. Education must be both intellectual and moral. His thought suggests a balanced curriculum: logic and sciences for reasoning, ethics and politics for character and civic responsibility, and arts and rhetoric for creativity and communication. His emphasis on dialectic foreshadows current practices that value discussion, critical questioning, and reflective judgment. Implications for development and global education. Aristotle's philosophy continues to inspire educational thought, particularly in the context of global development. 1. Holistic education. His vision reminds us that education should go beyond technical training. Developmental education must be holistic, nurturing intellect, morality, civic responsibility, and creativity. 2. Education for virtue and citizenship. For societies pursuing sustainable development, Aristotle's belief that education fosters virtue and civic responsibility is essential. Democratic participation, social cohesion, and ethical leadership depend on an education that forms both workers and good citizens. 3. Critical thinking. Aristotle's logical methods and dialectical reasoning emphasize the need for education that fosters critical thinking, questioning of assumptions, and evidence evaluation, skills essential in today's misleading information-rich environment. 4. Contextual and experiential learning. Just as Aristotle began with common experience, global education today must build on learners' cultural contexts and local knowledge. Development efforts will be more effective if they incorporate indigenous knowledge systems. 5. Final ends of education. Aristotle challenges us to ask, what is education for? If education is pursued solely for economic growth, its purpose is incomplete. It should aim at human flourishing, ethical life, and societal well-being. This insight is vital as the world seeks to balance economic, social, and environmental goals. My reflections. Aristotle is one of history's most influential thinkers. His works cover logic, science, politics, ethics, and education. He grounded knowledge in experience and observation, positing that understanding begins with the senses and evolves through reasoning. He emphasized that education should shape both the mind and character of learners. As a public school teacher and a graduate student of educational philosophy, I see Aristotle's ideas reflected in the daily realities of teaching. His belief that knowledge must move from the concrete to the abstract mirrors how my students learn best, by starting with simple, real-life examples before tackling abstract concepts. For instance, when teaching fractions, I use everyday objects like food or classroom materials so learners can see and experience division before working with numbers and symbols. This method echoes Aristotle's experiential approach, where learning is built upon observation and lived reality. Aristotle's insistence on virtue and character formation also challenges me to look beyond test scores. He reminds me that true education is moral as well as intellectual. In my classroom, this means encouraging honesty, respect, and responsibility alongside academic lessons. I believe that by fostering these habits, I am not only helping my pupils succeed in school, but also preparing them to become responsible citizens who can contribute to society. Globally, Aristotle's insights continue to resonate. His vision of education as holistic and aimed at human flourishing reminds us that schools must form critical thinkers and virtuous individuals, not just workers for the economy. In today's fast-changing world, where information can easily mislead, Aristotle's emphasis on logic, dialogue, and critical questioning becomes more urgent. Education should enable learners to discern truth, deliberate wisely, and act with virtue for the common good. Aristotle's philosophy inspires me to view education not simply as teaching lessons, but as shaping lives. His ideas remind me that every effort I make in the classroom contributes not just to academic growth, but to the development of future citizens who will play vital roles in both local communities and the global stage. Video created with CapCut.